Hi everyone, my name's Emma. Today we're going to be talking about how to read books, when to read books, why to read books, how do I approach reading books, and what's the best way to do it. When it comes to choices and decisions, the ones that we make with more intention will help us create the world that we want to live in. So we talk about here on this channel is how can we take lessons that exist all around us and bring them into our lives to create the life that we want to live. Now, I'm currently reading this book, Letting Go. I think pretty much everyone that's like a self-development person who's really into emotional healing has talked about this book. And I've gotten about halfway through this book and it's taken me like 3 weeks to do so. It's not that it's a hard read, it's more of like a very enlightening read about like, oh, like that's what all these emotions mean. And it's a really good one. So about halfway through, I've learned a lot. I will definitely do a review of the different things that I've learned, but I want to talk a bit more about how do I keep track of the books that I read. And there's many people who will have these very complicated ways to like read books. They're not complicated, but just more involved, and they'll annotate every page and they'll put post-its and all of this stuff. What I've done in the past year or so is I got these like journals. They're sketchbooks from Michaels, and they're blank. They don't have lines because I don't like writing on lines. But of course, you can just get a regular journal, and I write down the name of the book. Right? It's like cute, kind of. And then the author, and then I will literally just write the quotes down that I like, and the page number. So if I ever want to refer back to the book, I will do that. And I like to write quotes that really resonate with me at that time. And I know a lot of people say that when you read a book, you're only going to pick up on the things that you need to like hear at that moment in time. So like if I was to go back and reread these books, I'd probably pick up on completely different things. But for now, because I don't want to be going back and rereading books all the time, I just kind of write down a little bit of the quotes that really interest me and that I like, and I do like rereading this stuff too. So I have finished with these two, and I'm currently like halfway through this one. These are not my first choice of book journal covers, but that was all they had, and I like the size and all of that. So that's what I do with those books, is I'll just read. And I usually read in the morning and at night. So I'll usually read when I get up for a few minutes and before I go to sleep for a few minutes. If I read throughout the day, it's usually more on the weekend. But sometimes I will read like an hour after I wake up and an hour before I go to sleep. Sometimes though, it's just like a minute or two and then I move on with my day. But it's a really good way to get your brain to start thinking about something. And you know when you wake up and you're already thinking about something and you're like, how are we already thinking about this? I just woke up. Well, I try to, when I do immediately wake up, is to read some kind of affirmations, and then I read my book. Now, in these past few weeks, I have not been consistently doing it, but so is life, right? And it's really important to not get down on yourself when you are taking longer to read or you're not doing the morning routines that you're used to. It's okay if you take some time off from doing that because you want to deal with some other things. It's okay. We don't have to feel like we need to do everything perfectly all the time in order to be some kind of successful. But what is the best mindset to approach reading? Well, let me tell you. It's something that most of us choose not to do. So many of us choose not to read. I know there's a huge following on YouTube and TikTok and all over the internet where there's different people that have book clubs and they read with their friends, and then they just like also have like reading vlogs and reading marathons, which are super awesome and super cool. I love seeing that. But too many of us are choosing not to read. And we did talk about delayed versus instant gratification last video, where we talked about how reading really fits into delayed gratification. But also the thing about reading books, and now I do consider listening to audiobooks as reading books, and when I do that, I usually will go and write notes as I'm listening to them. So it's definitely a lot more notes than if I was to just read the book myself. I feel like I learn in both ways, but I will definitely write more notes if I'm listening to an audiobook. And I will usually write like 5 or 6 pages of quotes if I'm reading, and maybe like 10 to 15 pages if I'm listening to an audiobook. Now, of course, I usually don't just sit down and listen to an audiobook. I'm usually doing something else as well. So it's like a few things happening at once, like writing it down, listening to the audiobook, and then like actually focusing on something else completely separate from those 2 tasks. So it may not be very efficient. It probably isn't. There's probably a much better way to do that, but I definitely write notes as I'm listening to audiobooks, and I would definitely suggest that as well if you're interested in audiobooks, is write some notes down. What are they saying? What caught your ear while you were listening to it? So it's really interesting, and there's so many audio books out there now as well. Pretty much any book that you want to read, you can just have somebody else read it to you and listen, and a lot of people will play them while they're cooking or cleaning or things like that, or driving, because people might not want to listen to the radio and they want to just listen to an audiobook. So there's so many different ways to approach reading nowadays. There's audiobooks, there's ebooks, so you can have like an electronic reader as well, so you don't have to actually flip through the pages. Now, I do like flipping through the pages myself. I feel like there's a bit more satisfaction when you finish it, and it's like, wow, like I finished this whole book, versus on an e-reader. Totally up to you. Both are extremely effective, and I do have an iPad where I do have some books on there, and it's definitely useful, especially if you have like recipe books or some sort of like class that you're taking. I think ebooks are definitely helpful for that, especially because you can just like control, find, and search through the entire book and look and find what you're looking for if you're taking a class. So that's a really cool thing as well. So many different options to read books. Why are people choosing not to? I think it has a lot to do with the instant versus delayed gratification, but I think that it also has to deal with so many people believe that just reading 1 or 2 or 10 books, that's all that they have to do, that there's going to be these 10 books that they're going to find, and that's it. They never have to read again. And the truth is, the more books you read, the more perspectives you gain, and the less you rely on any one book for any sort of information. Now that I've read many books, I now realize that I can read a book and take parts of it away and leave the parts of it that I'm just like, maybe not. And that's really an important skill that we all need to develop, is how to sort through information. And the only way to do that is to sort through more and more information. You have to have information to sort, so you need to be inputting information. And information can come to you in a variety of ways, like we've talked about, whether it's from shows or movies or entertainment or books or talking to people, listening to conversations, watching documentaries. All of these are amazing ways to import information into your life. And the more that you do, and the more you start to realize, oh, there's a lot of perspectives on this, and none of them actually covered the full scope. Which also is one of the things that I like to do, is listen to the other side of whatever argument I'm usually siding on, just to see what the other people have to say. It will strengthen your own argument, and it will let you become more resilient to when people do talk to you, and to just become a more understanding person and a more tolerant person of everything that's going on in the world. There's so many different viewpoints and sides that the more that we can become aware of, the more important we understand how information actually is, and also where you're getting the source of information. And that we shouldn't just believe everything that we hear firsthand until we can verify it in various ways. So even when 100 people are saying the exact same thing, does that mean that it's the truth? We talked about the truth before too, and it's hard to know that, right? What's fake news? What's real news? Well, the truth is, every single perspective, every single thing that you will ever hear, it's limited. It's only one viewpoint. Even if it's the most inclusive thing that you can think of, there are still parts of it that is not including every kind of viewpoint. Therefore, it's all limited. Parts of it may be true, parts of it may be just not true because of the fact that they're leaving some things out. But you wouldn't know that unless you're consuming more and more information. So if you're on the fence about is reading worth it, or what kind of ways should I read, check out ebooks, audiobooks, regular books. I think that bookstores are slowly getting more popular. People are interested in like physically picking up the book because we live in a world that is so infused with the internet and everything's digital that we like the physical copy as well, and talking to people, especially after a year like this. But also, if we want to consume more information, we need to consume it from a variety of sources. From the last few books I've shown you, it seems like I'm focused on self-development, and those are some of the books, but I also read books on the environment, different issues regarding feminism, racism, and just a variety of perspectives from all over, just so I can understand what is going on. How can I make decisions if I don't know what viewpoints exist? And at the end of the day, we can start to realize that people exist in this world and they have various and many viewpoints, and we need to be aware of them and we need to take them into consideration, and that will create the most well-rounded version of ourselves. And I will actually get into talking about books very soon, and I will talk about journals. What do I think about the sustainability of buying stuff from Michael's or buying things from those types of stores, as a person who considers sustainability and has many ideas and viewpoints about that as well. And we will keep talking about it, how to approach minimalism, what it means, what is sustainable living. We're going to get into all of that throughout the summer and throughout the life of this channel, and I'm so happy that you are deciding to be here on this journey with me. We're both learning together, and it's a beautiful world out there if we choose to see it that way, and if the choices we make align with who we are. Every single time we make a choice, we will become the best version of ourselves. I hope you got something out of today's video. I will see you soon, but until then, have an amazing day.